Hello, everyone. Great to see the names popping up there as per usual. Again, as always, we're just going to give it a minute before, because there's loads of names popping into the waiting room as we speak. So we'll give it about 2 minutes for the new entrants to settle down in there. I can see there's Emily there who'd know well how the lineup goes. How are you getting on? Again, as I've mentioned loads of times, it's the familiar faces who come back to these tastings that are always exciting things to see. So yeah, we're just going to give it a minute. Were you watching the rugby today, guys?
We were. Yeah.
We definitely were. Yeah. We were. Amazing result.
I didn't watch it myself, but but I'm sure it was. I was watching the Everton Man City game, which wasn't as exciting, but I figured the rugby was the better thing to suggest, because I imagine more people on this chat will have watched that than watched the Premier League. But he's popping in from the waiting room. So once there's about 30 seconds now without a new name popping up, we'll get going. So just so everyone listening at home knows, or watching in at home, we're going to go in the order of the young blend, the 11-year-old, the 19, and then the 20, because I know a lot of you guys like to get them lined up beforehand, and sometimes get them poured. And no one has entered the chat there, so I'll just make sure everything's okay here. So we'll get started. Listen, everyone, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to another event in the Celtic Whisky Fest calendar. I hope those of you who've joined the other ones this week, you've been enjoying them, and for those of you who are the first time joining us, welcome. My name's Luke. I'm the general manager of the Celtic Whisky Bar and Larder down in Clarny, and the Irish Whisky Experience. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined tonight by the producers of Colla, and to try this really exciting range, and two new whiskies as well. So it's a world premiere. So I feel like we should be rolling out a red carpet and get the paparazzi around. I'm gonna without further ado, I'm gonna pass over to Alistair, Michelle, or Gareth, sorry, Michelle and Sean, to introduce yourselves to everyone and the brand here. Before I do, as always, guys, we want to get your tasting notes and your comments coming into the chat as frequently as possible throughout the tasting. We want your thoughts and your questions and your feedbacks on the individual whiskies. So, Sean, were you going to introduce yourselves first?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you everyone for coming along this evening. We really appreciate it for showing the interest and to want to taste our fabulous whiskey. I'll introduce myself. I'm Sean. I'm the commercial director with the Distillery. On my left hand side is Garrett, and Michelle is on my right hand side here. They're both the CEOs and founders of a Distillery. So we'll start off tonight based with Oosh. We're very excited. It's the first launch of our new whiskey. We've two releases tonight. We have Oosh, and we also have our 20-year-old Amarone cask strength. But we start off with Oosh. As you guys will have in your packs, it's the young blend, so it's known as Oosh. So if you would like to,
we'll pour that. I'll put up a slide then.
Is that not coming up, Gareth, or
Find it now. Probably not. No. I'll stop the share.
We did try this before we went live, and it worked brilliantly. I tell you, the bottom is stunning. So,
well, I'll stick around this if you want to start the tasting there, Luke. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose we could start with while you're figuring it out with your own journey to this point in terms of I was reading up on this morning in the sense that you were traveling across Europe. You mentioned when you started the Miss Callister brand, you were in Hong Kong. Do you want to tell us a bit about that before we start tasting the new whiskey?
Yeah, sure. Well, myself and Michelle, we've been living out in Asia for the last number of years, Shanghai and Hong Kong, and our careers came to an end out there, and we decided to do something together linked to our passions. Mine is whiskey and Michelle's is gin. So we had the great idea to start up, spirits business, which we did in 2018. And yeah, so nearly 3.5 years later, it's great to actually to be, doing this. And, what are this whiskey that we've got, the first one is it's a triple blend, single grain, single pot still, single malt. And this is kind of the first time we're showing it to anybody. So it's we're kind of launching it full time tomorrow, aren't we?
Yeah.
But if I can get the screen to work, I'll show you what the branding is going to look like. It's going to be
called.
Well,
I've made you host there, Gareth, to see if that would help it along. Because as we say, it was working perfectly before we started. But
well, you go ahead down with the tasting and see what people think.
So what the three blends, because it smells really interesting on the nose. This is a touch bit bready, but lots of vanilla and green apple coming through there as well. And again, as always, we want to hear what people think at home. It's got an incredibly fresh nose to it. And where's the spirit that's gone into this? Where's that sourced from? Is it an amalgamation of different locations in terms of the pot malt from one, the grain from other, or the pot still from other, or is it all from the one source?
Yeah, it's all from Great Northern.
Mm-hmm.
We've been working with them quite a lot. Brian Watts, fantastic distiller there, and he helped us put the blend together. I'm a big pot still fan, but I always wanted to have a blend that has single pot still in it. I didn't want to have something that's very heavy grain. So this has only up to 50% grain in it, and then has 25% malt, 25% pot still.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think we can share this now. It might work. Then
it is quite light straw in color as well, which is I think a good thing on a young brand like this, because if you had bottled us something and that was incredibly dark, you're going to be scratching the head going, what's going on here? So you like that. I personally really like to see that. And I've just taken a sip of it there, and it's really complex. There's a small bit nutty on the finish for me personally. I in a good way. I think it's in very, very light. You don't you don't get that kind of pot still spice that you get off some other pot still blends. But again, that's an observation, not a negative.
Yeah.
No,
the grain has a big influence though, because the grain has been finished twice. It's bourbon casks and then virgin oak casks as well, so that you can get a bit of that coming through, I think. Yeah, but the pot still doesn't overwhelm it. You're right.
No. Again, 25% of the malt, you can get the notes of the toasted nuts from it, biscuits, that kind of a flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see my screen, guys?
Yeah, I can see it now. It looks great.
So we're calling it the triple blend. Now, Oosh, we can explain what Oosh is, I suppose. So you're all familiar with Clan Colla, and we can tell the story a bit more. But Clan Colla were three brothers who kind of ruled Ireland and parts of Scotland in the 4th and 5th century. The eldest brother was called Oosh, Colla Oosh, and he became the High King of Ireland. So to basically keep everything aligned with the Clan Colla, we decided to call this brand Oosh. This will be our young kind of offering. This will range from 3 to maybe 8 years old. Clan Colla will start from 10 years up. Does start from 10 years up.
Mm-hmm. No, I really like, as John Donnelly says in the whiskey tasting there, that he's only a few miles away from me, and that he's a whiskey lover but no expert. But the Oosh bottle looks a great design, and even Conway has come in and said the same thing. It really does. It's got a real sans serif kind of, I suppose, almost post Second World War 40s 50s kind of aesthetic to it. What was the thought behind that?
I think we really wanted the color, it to be colorful and trendy without it being in your face trendy. And I think that's where we came back to simplicity, and it tells its own story.
The colors is all Michelle. She's very colorful. So the purple, the red.
Plus, if you notice that the eagle and all of the bottles, that's the trend, is our eagle across. So we stuck with that.
But also,
it looks great.
As John probably knows too, like, we are building an eco distillery which will be completely powered by renewable energy. And that's a key value for us. So this bottle, the Oosh bottle, is made with 100% recycled glass. Every bottle is different. There's always little, because it's all recycled. The top is fully sustainable. The paper, the labels are on the ink that we even use for the labels is all sustainable materials. So the liquid that comes from a Haskra distillery, which will be carbon neutral because it will be completely powered by renewable energy, and then the packaging will be doing the same. So hopefully we can call the spirit coming from a Haskra completely carbon neutral.
Oh, that's a very noble goal, and that's really interesting. The Mike Cunningham has asked what the percentage of the whiskey. I could just make out on the thing. It looks like it says 43%. Is that right? Yeah,
43% ABV. Yeah.
And was there a particular reason you went for 43 as opposed to the 40 or 46?
We felt it worked better. We spent the long summer testing a lot of different variations of it.
It was very tough.
It was very difficult.
That was a tough one.
Very long summer. It just worked better. Now this is all non-chill filtered as well, so there's a bit of a risk to it going down that low, but it did work better. And there's no artificial coloring added as well. So getting the various blend was tricky, but this turned out to be the best. For me anyway,
Yeah, for me, yeah.
I don't know what you guys think. Everyone's palate's different.
I think it's a nice light drink to start off on the whiskey journey.
Yeah.
It's a good one too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'd almost compare it to something like a Writer's Tears copper pot in its ease of drinking, like that you wouldn't even. Yeah, I'd nearly have that gone and not even notice, and that's definitely a good thing. The price points. Do you have a retail price point? I imagine you do for us.
Yeah, retailing about €45.
Again, which is in the similar range to that kind of thing. So that's obviously, if you look at what else is in that range, again, the Writer's Tears or the Bushmills 10 and things like that. So it's in good company. But yeah, I think that's not bad at all. There's some blends from a lot of, including some very, very big brands that have come in at a higher price point and not been as drinkable as this. So yeah, that's commendable. Honest take there. Emily says, loving this, reminds me of my mother's pecan roll. So very good.
We'll take that.
Yeah, write that
down. John says very smooth aftertaste. Mike says, will it be available tomorrow? And will it be available on location in? I've been avoiding because I'm going to butcher the name again because I know we discussed pronunciation beforehand, but I'm dyslexic, which is not a joke. and my skin crawls at the thought of butchering a beautiful Irish town's name and your brand name again. So do you want to give it to me one more time before I do it again?
So it's a Haskra distillery. So
Haskra.
It's available to order from tomorrow, from about 12 o'clock tomorrow. It's available to order. Pre-order. Pre-order.
Perfect. Just in time for Christmas, everyone. There you go.
Exactly.
No, that's really exciting, and no, thank you for sharing that as the world's first here. Unless anyone in the chat has any more questions, will we come on to the 11-year-old?
Yeah.
Yep. For that, I'll do the slide.
Need new glasses.
We got 3 here.
And in terms of in a Haskra, what you're going to be producing when you're fully up and running, do you have an idea in terms of styles you want to be releasing? Will you be doing pot still, malt? What's the production plan?
Yeah, here in the Haskra, we'll be doing single malt and single pot still only, and blends of those two.
Very good. And do you have a mash bill recipe or anything yet?
Yeah, we've a few that we're looking at, especially on the pot still, and probably I can introduce Clan Colla here. So as McAllister's were distillers in the 1800s, and Clan Colla was their most successful brand at that time. So part of our goal has been to revive Clan Colla. That's what we've hopefully been doing since June. But Clan Colla was what had a lot of good. There was a good single pot still whiskey, and we're going to try and replicate some of those old mash bills, in the range that we'll have coming from a Haskra.
That's really fascinating. And in terms of where and how those mash bills are preserved, what kind of records are they in that regard? Like where you what kind of archive are you sourcing them from?
It's basically a lot of my own research and collection over the years. I've been doing this for about 25 years, researching the McAllisters and the history. And the actual place where they were in the 1800s was up in Ballymena in Tullyglass. And Tullyglass now is a large hotel and conference centre. And if you ever visit it, you'll see a lot of McAllister memorabilia around the place. And they have old records and documents that we've seen. So a lot of the archives are kept in Tullyglass. So.
Oh, well, that must be a fantastic resource to have. That's brilliant. I'm sure there's a lot of brands envious to have those kind of records.
We put our own stamp on it as well, though.
Of course, sure. It's about paying homage to the past, but also keeping it relevant to what's contemporary as well. Yeah. It is impossible for any brand looking to recreate these old the cask selection techniques. Everything was so different back then that you're never going to be able to completely replicate what was going on. And if you did, it might not be to the modern palate either. So
well, the current technical file wouldn't allow us anyway, but that hopefully will change soon.
There was movement on that recently, actually, again. So we'll all keep abreast of that. Brilliant. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about the 11 as we have it up in front of us?
Yeah. So here we have the 11-year-old. Again, it's a complex blend of both malt and grain, double distilled, blended with grain, and triple cast in ex-bourbon barrels. You just knows it. Earthy aroma.
Yeah, very earthy. Yeah.
Yeah. Hints of maybe toasted oak, that kind of.
It's like sitting by the fire.
It is.
That's what it's like.
Yeah, the peat.
Yeah, the peat.
Extraordinary how the kind of charcoaliness of the peat comes through so much more on the palate than it does on the nose.
Yeah.
It is much more earthy, toasted nuts, kind of on the nose and the peat kind of hits you on the finish. That's really interesting. Or so I found. I didn't find it overly peated on the nose.
Yeah, this kind of was a very complex blend to put together. I think it did work. It took us a while to get it. first of all, after the bourbon, it was in sherry casks, Oloroso casks for 3 years. And then it was in its last 6 months, it was in peated casks. So it's not an original peated malt, mash bill. We finished it in a peated cask. And the peated casks were a mixture of Irish peated casks and Lafroig from Islay casks. Now, it's not overly peaty. In fact, if you leave it open to the air for a while, the peatiness kind of goes, and the sherry notes come through. That's what I find anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You leave it for a while. It's actually it's if you don't like too much peat, it's a very pleasant drink.
Yeah.
And the finish is extraordinary. The way that kind of the sherry and almost kind of like honey notes kind of just linger there at the end. It's incredibly drinkable whiskey. Mike in the chat has said very nice, slight but nice peatiness. John says, yeah, you can definitely taste the flavor more than the smell. Beautiful taste. Alan says, beautiful whiskey. I love the peat finish. So the Lefroy cask you said, and I presume the other ones are former Great Northern peated casks, are they?
Yeah. Mixture of the two types, and the Lefroy was a bit more peatier. We kind of dialed it back by blending with the ones finished in the Irish peated casks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's a very nice whiskey, and I believe it's about €80. Am I right? Which is for the complexity in the drink is very well priced as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very we from living in Asia, and especially like in Japan, they drink a lot of peated whiskies as a highball. Mm-hmm. During the summer, I was drinking this all the time as a highball. It's a really refreshing drink, and highball with peated whiskies, you get a lot more to it. You get a lot more flavors come through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
imagine it would go lovely in like a Rob Roy or a rusty, not rusty, a screwdriver. As not that you want to put such a beautiful product in a cocktail, but yeah. Or even a highball, as attractive as that sounds.
Old fashioned, maybe.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's a very, very good whiskey. Alan there, that's the same comment with I love the peat finish. And how much in terms of quantity of release was there a limited batch of this, or are you looking to keep it going for a while?
We've probably got enough at the moment for about 4,000 bottles. We do have another batch coming after it. It'll be a 12-year-old, but similar type of style, similar type of idea.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of sourcing casks from somewhere like Lefroy, is there a broker you go through? What's the logistics behind that? For someone like myself or those listening who are completely ignorant to these workings.
Yeah, well, on the sherry casks, Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez, we have a partner in Jerez in Spain, Sanchez Romate, Malcolm, who works with us in Europe, put us in touch with them a few years ago, and so all our casks, sherry casks, are coming from them exclusively. They season first for 6 months the casks with their different types of sherries. And then as soon as they empty them, they ship them to us, and we fill them with our whiskies. On the peated side, Brian Watson, Great Northern, has been great help to help us source good casks and also the Lefroy casks. But yeah, there are a few people out there who really know a lot about good wood, and they're the people to talk to. But the sherry side, we kind of go direct to our partner.
I won't make a joke about good wood, but we'll avoid that one. It's a Sunday night. But could you tell us the eagle that you were mentioning, Michelle? That was obviously so beautifully represented on the last bottle. Could you tell us a bit more about how that ties into the whole brand?
Well, it's your name, so.
Yeah, well, those are filming at the McAllister name, and the McAllister crest is a golden eagle. But the way it's depicted in our crest, it looks very like Teeling's Phoenix crest. So we didn't want to use that and take on Teeling's. We laugh about it. So we decided to revamp it. The Golden Eagle is the old logo, and we decided to change it up a little. Hope you like it.
No, it does. It does. Look, I didn't immediately when I first saw your bottle. I think it was when the Irish Whiskey Award tasting packs were going around over the summer. I didn't immediately identify it as an eagle. I don't know why it didn't. There's almost like a fin element to it. But once you say eagle, it's like so obvious. But the head bowed. It's
it's
beautiful. Yeah. No, it's great. Murphy J in the chat there says super dram. Really love the light peat finish. The peat finish is the gift that keeps on giving, even while we're chatting here. Yeah, will we come on to the, or are we? I want to be. Don't want to move too fast, but I am anxious, as we were talking pre-air, because I've been gagging to try this. The drink the 19-year-old. So we could always park a bit there as a comparison, and maybe crack that open if you're happy with that. Or is there anything else you wanted to touch on in regards to the 11-year-old before we move forward?
No, I think we're happy to move on. Yep.
It's a very cold night out here in Galway, but I'm getting warmed up now.
Warming up nice.
While you're doing that, I'll try and change this.
There was a question actually that I missed, and I meant to come back to while you're doing that. There is that. Are you planning on opening a shop in the distillery? Is that something that's coming down the line? Was a question we got earlier. I can't find it when I'm scrolling back through this.
To sell the whiskey and that?
I presume, or both or either or, I suppose.
So right across from where the distillery is built now, we actually have a cafe that opened up there at the end of June, and we do sell some of the merchandise there. At the moment, we don't have the license to sell the alcohol. It is on display, but you can't buy it. But there's other locations around here that do sell it for us. Yeah. So we have it already up and running. And once the distillery is built, it'll be a bigger shop over there. But at the moment, we have a lovely cafe here in Haskra, and we do sell some of the merchandise there.
And in terms of time frame for the distillery, what are we looking at in that regard?
Yeah,
all fingers crossed and toes, and
we're hoping this time next year we'll be commissioning it. It's under civil construction. For those who are familiar with the Haskra and the old mill there, it is an old mill complex dating back to 1810, and it's actually very well laid out in terms of, from a whiskey production point of view or a spirits production point of view, the way the complex is. We started the main work on it in August. The main contract started in August. It took, when we bought it, it was completely overgrown. There was trees growing in it. So there's a lot of cleaning up work to do, a lot of enabling works to do. But the civils are on schedule to be finished by next September. Process equipment will start moving in from April, and hopefully then around this time, October, November next year, we'll be commissioning.
And actually some of the stuff that we took out of the old mill, some of the old equipment that we have repurposed and built tables in the cafe, we've tried to reuse a lot of these. So you'll see the Avery scales we made into a table here. We've got some of the wheels that were used over there in tables, so it's worth coming in and having a look.
No, definitely. No, it sounds really exciting. There's also John in the chat there says it's good coffee too from the cafe. So
That's good.
Thank you.
We like our coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we decided to build a cafe. We like our whiskey and gin, so we decided to build a distillery.
It's as simple as that.
It's just simple, yeah. Simple things in life, you know.
brilliant. So let's jump into the 19. The bottle is stunning, by the way. I love the kind of gold
Yeah.
and glass contrast. It's brilliant. Yeah, do you want to introduce it? Or?
Yeah, again, this was our first single malt in the family bond series, distilled back in 2001. Limited release, 300 bottles ish.
No, this is 1,200.
1,200, sorry, 1,200. 1,200. Finished in Spanish Oloroso butts that we got from Jerez.
And this is from the same gentleman in Jerez, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is from Fran and his family in Sanchez Ramata, yeah. In Jerez.
So on the nose, you can get the toasted maltiness, some of the citrus hints there as well. And you can get that caramel, smooth caramel, dried fruit.
Just quite tannic as well. It's gorgeous, yeah. That dried fruit nuttiness, a bit of chocolate. It's an incredibly nice whiskey, I must say. And 1,200 bottles, and this came out in June, was it?
In June, yeah.
Yeah. So it's relatively new to the market, in the grand scheme of things, I suppose. And when with I suppose in terms of this and the 11-year-old and the one we're going to come on to, how difficult did you find in this current climate sourcing mature stock? My understanding it's quite hard at the moment in that regard, or
It's very hard.
Well, it depends how much money you have, you know.
Always the answer,
always,
isn't it?
There's always a price. We were lucky. We bought this a number of years back, and I've been finishing it off. And you know, we got this. This is ex-Cooley stock, but obviously we got it from John Teeling. You know, he says to us that we got one of the last batch of good aged malt that he had. So that's what we've got a good bit more of it. We'll be slowly releasing that over the next couple of years. But at this kind of level, it will be all limited releases with a special finish.
Naturally, yeah. No, the color is stunning as well, and the Oloroso finish. How long again did you say that was?
How long? What? Sorry.
How long was it finished for?
In the Oloroso.
6 months.
6 months. It's in part, and it was all ex-bourbon up until then. I know I'm probably repeating the obvious here, but just wants to make sure we're on the right page.
Yeah, it's you know, it's a lot of monthly samples and tasting until you get to where you really want it. You know, a lot of what we noticed was over the summer months, a lot of the finishing happened. During the winter months, nothing was happening because of obviously the temperature. But you know, coming into June, it was spot on, and that's when we bottled it.
Yeah, John in the chat there says every flavor explosion of whiskey in that 19-year-old still lasting in the mouth after 2 minutes. So that's high praise. Alan says it really is a stunning whiskey. How much is it? I believe on Celtic whiskey it's €200 that we retail for. Is that correct, guys? That sound right?
That's correct. Yep.
Murphy J says, wow, so complex but really smooth. Can really see the strong bourbon influence. Great finish. Have to have this. John says, dear Santa.
That's what we like to hear.
No, marvelous. No, it is an absolute cracking drop of whiskey. All right. No, it really is. And how have you found releasing a whiskey like this in the middle of a global pandemic? Have you?
It went very well in the middle of a
Yeah,
pandemic,
actually,
funnily enough.
We didn't think people would be bothered with our whiskies, but it's gone very well. We're very
Yeah.
happy with it.
No, it is good. It's amazing. It's obviously because we started these after the pandemic started, these online tastings. We often talk with different brands about how they've managed it, and not one brand that I can think of anyway. Maybe there's a couple of people on the chat who've done a lot of these. Maybe they'll correct me, but I can't think of anyone who said it was massively affected. You know, if whatever dropped in duty-free sales, they found somewhere else. You know, that it's actually been a good. Not well, maybe not good, but it's not been a bad time as some people thought it would be for the whiskey industry.
Yeah, probably true.
Well, I don't think people have stopped drinking during the pandemic. I think just people stocked up.
Yeah, quite the opposite, I'd say, in terms of stock. I know plenty of people who drink a lot more.
Well, as you know, Irish whiskey sales only dropped slightly during the pandemic, even though most of on-trade premises were shut down. So, you know, Irish whiskey has been quite resilient throughout the pandemic.
And the money on the secondary market has been insane. Like, you know, what's been going across the auction sites, like some of the stuff. So it's definitely witnessed some asset price inflation anyway. So
sure.
But you know, so that's good if you're like me and you have a shelf full of whiskey you want to sell. No, I'm joking. No, that's Mike comes in there with super aftertaste, strong bourbon flavor. I'm actually really impressed with how much of a sherry bomb this tastes. Given, as you mentioned, it's only had 6 months in the cask. It's quite extraordinary. Why do you think the sherry was so giving in such a short period of time?
I think it's down to the seasoning of the sherry butts and getting it across quickly. You know, as soon as they empty or disgorge the butt with the sherry, get it over here which we did, and get our whiskey into as quickly as possible. You know, so and we did that during the winter months, and for the first few months it wasn't moving at all. But then coming into May and June, it just, you know, it turned well, and it was, you know, that was the time to do it. So we do have it's now 20-year-old in the butts a lot longer. They've got another year. We'll be checking that shortly. So we've left another 12 months in some of the casks. But they come out as a 20-year-old.
No, very good.
And we have a Pedro Jimenez, a PX finish as well, in a 20-year-old coming out next year as well.
And have you ventured beyond sherry? Have you port or Madeira or anything?
No, we're looking at it obviously, but we've none ready in the pipeline yet. But we'll be looking at it.
And what about some of the more, let's say, non-conventional forms of sherry in terms of Palo Cortado, Amontillado, Manzanilla? Have you experimented with anything along those lines yet, or
no? We're kind of tied to what our partner is. They're Oloroso PX experts, and we've been kind of focusing with them. But yeah, the whole thing with these aged malts is to try and experiment as much as possible with different types of finishes. And mind you, the malt on its own is perfect, it's beautiful as well. You know, without it. That's another new release that'll come out soon as well.
Howard's iPhone says Brexit is good for Celtic whiskey. Can't do shop and collect to the UK anymore, which I found out actually going over to Liverpool recently, that I couldn't buy everything on the way out and pick it up on the way back in because of the duty issues.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, I was hoping to pick up 26 bottles of the Redbreast 12 PX. No, I'm joking. They were only doing one per customer.
You wish.
No, but I did get some tobacco for very cheap. So, you know, it's more bad habits being fanned by Brexit. Brilliant. Will we come on to the 20-year-old?
Dun, dun, dun.
The piece of resistance.
This is exactly the next the next world premiere. I feel like we should be playing some music in the background, but
Should have a drum roll.
yeah.
Okay. Just by the I'm just on it. That's our gin, by the way, if you haven't seen it before, Shin Gin. That's all Michelle's creation.
It's aesthetically beautiful. I haven't tried the gin, but it looks great. I must say, across all the ones the bottles we've seen so far, the branding is top class. Like, and this, it's.
That's my mad colours coming out.
We have a great team.
Speaking of colors, the color of this 20-year-old is amazing.
Let me just share this then. You all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Am I pouring? Yeah, you like the color?
I think the colour's amazing.
Yeah.
Mm.
More of a red hue to the color.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that pinkish red. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Do we have one?
No. But I'm curious to see what you all think of it.
Here's the new release. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Yeah.
So again, you're the first to see
Gotcha.
this new release.
First to see, first to taste.
Well, it's the nose is stunning. It's got you really get that sort of a dry wine kind of nose to it. It's very interesting. Sort of red berries.
Yeah. Amarone is one of my favorite wines.
Mm.
I think that goes with the color as well. It kind of gives off that hint of.
Yeah. No, it has and obviously the little sample bottle we have here says cast strength, but what ABV we trying here?
55%.
Jesus, so it's up there. It's gonna.
Yes, absolutely. Again, this is a limited release, 300 bottles of the cast strength.
Wow, 300, and well, I suppose we can come to more of it after we taste it if you want to. I'm going to dive. I'm sorry, I can't hold back anymore. I'm going to stick my mouth.
Go for it.
Jump in. Can you explain that?
Yeah.
Just to introduce as well, like the 20-year-old will come in this box, wooden box. Colla single malt, aged 20 years. And then inside, that's how it will be presented.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's very, very good whiskey, I must say. The people have been coming in and chat on it now. Nectar of the gods said.
Okay.
Oh, we steal that one.
Yeah,
We steal that one.
that one down
That's
there.
maybe now in our literature going forward.
Yeah.
Have been waiting to open this one since I've seen the color of it, and it has delivered. Very distinguished compared to the 19-year-old. Fantastic, super. Wow, what an exceptional whiskey. Howard's iPhone says, first bottle I opened when I got the box on Thursday. All I can say is my initial reaction was it's all there. So no, it's very good. I love a nice sort of whiskey where the front of the mouth is kind of dry and tannic, and it definitely hits that way, and then a nice long finish. It's no, it definitely ticks a lot of boxes. I wouldn't have guessed if you hadn't told me before I asked the 55%. If I didn't know that before I tasted it, I would have said definitely cast strength, but maybe not that high, maybe 48, 49. It's the strength of the whiskey is well disguised by the complexity and quality of it. For 300 bottles, I imagine this is going to be obviously well sought after. But what would we be looking at retail wise?
Retailing for about €250.
Oh, it's very good, very good. I thought, oh, Jesus, that's compared to a certain 21-year-old blend that got released recently. That is exceptional value. So fantastic.
Absolutely.
Does that include the box?
Yeah.
Box is
And
excellent.
that does include a box.
Okay, that's good.
Wow, that's excellent.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, we lived in Italy for 5 years, Michelle and I, and we were spoiled by good wines, red wines, and Amarone was our favorite. So we got these casks from one of our favorite cantinas there.
Oh, lovely.
God, we sound like alcoholics.
I know.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Murphy J says, wow, I love Amarone wine. One word, incredible. Have to say this too. Super cast strength dram. Evelyn says, where is this one on sale? I'm hoping Celtic whiskey, although I never checked.
It will
is,
be.
yeah.
Again, it's available for pre-order from tomorrow.
Excellent. Mike says, that's good value, ? Well, I can tell you it definitely is, Mike. No, it genuinely is. Might be another Dear Santa as well in there. No, that's excellent. I'm actually lost for words in terms of this. I would actually just like to stop talking and just sip away at this. But in terms of what you have planned down the line, I mean, this is obviously 2 brand new releases, so it seems almost facetious to be asking you to talk about anything further down. But what does 2022 have in store for the Clan Colla brand?
Holidays.
Well deserved as well.
No, we have we've an Amarone finish 20-year-old coming out at 46%. And then we have the PX I just mentioned, PX 20-year-old coming out as well. And then
very good.
That'll probably be, we'll probably aim for around St. Patrick's Day for those 2.
No, excellent. And then I suppose you'll have your handfuls then with the distillery after that.
Yeah, we'll have a new gin coming out as well. That'll be out. It'll be using botanicals from Galway.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Too shy.
Yeah.
They've seen it.
What was that?
They wanted me to show the bottle. I said, "You've seen it. The bottle of the gin."
No, go on, show us again. Is that it on the shelf behind you? Is it?
Yeah,
that's it there.
Yeah. No, it looks fantastic. If you maybe could stop the screen sharing of the 20-year-old, because we the way it shows up, obviously you're small box and that's the big box. Yeah, if you could show us again now, that'd be fantastic. And what's the material? Is it like a ceramic? Is it?
Yeah, it's painted ceramic. Glass on it. And it's just it's the Celtic swirls. But if I don't know if you can see, but if you look into it, it goes into a heart shape, because shin is actually Mandarin for heart or love. So hence the whole gin. Oh, there you go. A quick blurb on it.
Doesn't like showing off her bottle. You need to show them.
It's impressive.
It's not good for the brand if you're shy about showing it off.
Well, you know what? I think it speaks for itself. I don't think I need to say much.
Ooh, very good.
That's a good answer. So we've actually Howard's iPhone has iPhone X, the sentient iPhone, has got a question about what flavors are in the gin. Tell us about the botanical breakdown of that.
So the shin gin has got persimmon, which is an Asian fruit, mixed with lemongrass, and dill, cinnamon, lots of others. But the big thing is the persimmon from Asia. So yeah. So it's a with the cross here with the shin gin, it's actually a crossing of the east and west. So that's why I went with an Asian fruit along with the Irish botanicals.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of what does the gin retail at?
50.
50.
Yeah,
that's not bad. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the thing was also as well, going down our eco-friendly, that is that you can actually peel these off and use it, for putting candles in or flowers in or whatever. So it's such a beautiful bottle that you can reuse it. Or you
And-
can
and-
always come back to the distillery and fill it up again. That's
Yeah,
another.
you can refill it too, yeah.
And do you hand paint all of them yourself, is it?
Every night.
He's here till all hours.
All
It's terrible,
hours.
it's terrible.
Brilliant. Mike in the chat there says, I must say Clan Colla's the Clan Colla experience, or tonight's Clan Colla experience, that's what 4 whiskies will do to your reading ability, has impressed me. Very enjoyable whiskies, great range. I wholeheartedly concur with that sentiment. The Thompson's great presentation on all of your bottles. Love the box for the 20-year-old. It does look smashing, all right. I suppose normally at the end of these tastings, we ask everyone listening in to tell us what your favorite one was. Although I have a feeling this is going to be an easy one to decide. But please do let us know. Particularly, actually, I mean, I really enjoyed the 19. So I'd be interested to see if anyone listening actually preferred the 19 to the 20-year-old. Although they were all great whiskeys, so please do let us know. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you wanted to share in regards to what we tried here or the brand?
I don't think so.
I think we probably covered most aspects of it.
I think we have.
We could possibly could we share images of the distillery maybe?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
could try
That sounds great. Yeah, no, we'd love that. Yeah.
Bear with me. What am I doing? Okay, so someone keep talking while I try this, or keep sipping your.
Well, Alan is the first off the mark with saying that the 20-year-old for me in that regard. Murphy J says, can you send the link to all of the 20-year-olds? I imagine normally what happens with these, if it's going through Celtic Whisky, is that if you're signed up to our mailing list, these links, once they go live, get sent out normally around between about 11 and 1 o'clock in the day. So I actually don't, I'm speculating here, I don't know for a fact because I'm down in Clarny, but I imagine if it's going live on our website, that's what will happen. What happens with all new releases anyway. So I personally don't have a link here. Tom says, great presentation on all your bottles. Love the box. We've read that one. Love the box for 20-year-old. Emily preferred the 11, which is really interesting. So that's left of field. The nature of the peat there is amazing. Evelyn says, thank you for the presentation. I'm from Ballymo, passed by many times and seeing those trees growing in the mill. Great to see you renovating it. Danny says 20, then the 19, absolutely delicious. Howard's iPhone says, can we get this recording? You can. Howard, once this finishes, I send over the copy to my colleague Katie, and it'll be uploaded and emailed out to everyone who bought a pack tomorrow. The 20-year-old is superlative. Superlative, love the piece, and the 11-year-old also surprised it's just from the cask influence. Mike says, I agree with Alan, young blend is well priced, fine whiskey. John says, really enjoyed tonight, first whiskey tasting, but a new local brand of business is great to support. I'm proud to have you in the area. Howard's iPhone says, big fan here in Ballymo. I was on the investment Zoom as well. So fantastic. Do you want to talk us through these what we're seeing here?
You can see that okay. So the top left is the rendered image of what it will look like, hopefully this time next year. There is a mill race running through the complex, and there was an old water wheel, and we are restoring that at the moment. So the water wheel will be back in action. It's actually very similar to the water wheel that's outside Kilbeggan Distillery, if you've ever seen that. Mm-hmm. The pictures at the bottom are a few weeks old, but that's kind of it might look like there's a lot of stone around. That's the original stone work. We've had to take some of it down to put it back up from a structural point of view. But all the stonework, original stonework, will be reused in the distillery. The middle picture is my favorite because it has 2 rainbows. And the end of the rainbow, there will be a pot of gold, liquid gold, with spirit from Ahaspra. The picture on the far right, bottom right, is inside the brew house without the roof. As people who know the area, maybe John remembers, there was an old asbestos roof on that building. We've had to remove that and replace it. Tomorrow, actually, if you're nearby, we are pouring concrete. All the floors in the still house and brew house will be poured this week. Then the steel work goes in, and then the roofs go on. So hopefully by the end of the year, early January, we'll have the brew house and the still house roofed. And then we can move inside for the mechanical fit out and electrical fit out.
No, looks
Where we
very
are, where the
impressive.
Haskra is, we're East Galway, close to the Roscommon border. Very good area for growing barley and grain. Most of our barley will be local.
Oh,
And just a
excellent.
quick note on the support, you know, it's a tiny wee village here in East Galway, but the support from our village here and the surrounding villages, and actually the whole of Galway, has been amazing. And we couldn't do it without everybody supporting us and you guys tasting our whiskies tonight and giving us great reviews. So we much appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. No, well, thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to be the first people to try the two new releases. It's an absolute privilege, and I hope everyone listening at home has enjoyed this as much as I have. Murphy J says, thanks so much for the two tasting, for the superb tasting. Love the cask strength. So 20-year-old for me. So that's brilliant. I personally, just to round off people's preferences, I would go 20, 11, 19 blend in my opinion. But so Mike there says, great presentation. Thank you guys. So no, I think that's where we're just coming up to an hour, so that's maybe a good place to leave it. But I've definitely, as I repeat myself, but I've enjoyed and learned a lot tonight. So thank you so much for taking your time on a Sunday to share all of this with us. Thank you.
Thanks,
No,
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Luke, for organising it too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise. And for anyone listening at home, if you've any more questions, the link you got the Zoom link to, if you email any questions to that about the brand or availability of the blend and the 20-year-olds, and either myself or Katie will get back to you with all the relevant information. So thank you so much, and thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you folks soon. We'll see you.
Good night.
Take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
By the way, because I made you host, guys, you're gonna have to end the meeting, but so
I don't do that now. Stop share, end meeting.
Yeah, that's it.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.